And that's very encouraging to me.
What do you recommend people who are listening to this show right now, people who have read or will read The Creature from Jekyll Island? What do you recommend in this state that we're in right now, this state of being? What do they do? And let's say they're fortunate, Ed, to still be working.
Well, there are two levels, I think, to focus on here. The one level is really obvious, and that is how to protect ourselves and our families as best we can from the economic consequences of this mess we're in. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. You know, if you've got a job, you've got to get out of debt as quickly as you can. You've got to start saving as much as you can. You have to put your whatever assets you have, you need to convert them into non-monetary assets as quickly as you can. By that I mean gold or silver or real estate or a warehouse full of tires or something other than Federal Reserve notes.
Ammunition?
Something, yeah. Because those Federal Reserve notes are just going to evaporate. That's what you need to do. You need to be very close with your family. You're going to need your family to help you in the days ahead. All of these things are pretty clear. But the other level is what's usually not discussed, and that is the fact that there's nothing you can do if the system goes completely totalitarian. Because, and that's where it's headed. Not only are we in an economic crisis, we're in a freedom crisis.
Absolutely.
And if the state becomes total, then all they have to do is just, they say, oh, you got some food? Well, it's ours now. It belongs to the people. Oh, you live in a house? It's paid off? Well, too bad. Into the truck. We need that house for somebody else. Oh, you've got some gold? Oh, it's ours now. You can't have that gold.
Is this all conceivable?
Oh, it's absolutely conceivable. It's happened in many other countries, and we're following in exactly the same footsteps. So my point is that any realistic plan for a recovery has to be focused on recapturing and restoring the system, not just putting money aside or trying to worry about the financial side. We need to worry about the freedom side as well.
And I think that's the most important.
Well, I do too, because in freedom we can recover. No matter how bad things are, we can always dig out and start over again.
Absolutely.
If we're free to do so. But if we're in concentration camps, then how can you recover? That's it. You're a slave. And I think where we're headed, I'm afraid, is a kind of a return to feudalism.
Do you know 10, 20 years ago, for you to talk this way and for me to talk this way, people would think we were nuts?
Well, yes, and I suppose there are still those who do.
But it's changing.
It's changing, yes. And I'm almost sorry to see it changing because I know that means things are getting so worse that even the skeptics can see it. But anyway, you're quite right. 10, 20 years ago, I was viewed rather askance by a lot of people, and I was talking this way.
Can we have enough gold and silver to back up what we have right now? I bet we can't.
The issue of how much gold or silver does it take to back up a currency is an interesting question because it belies an assumption that there is a proper amount. There is no proper amount. Any amount will do. The value of gold or silver behind a monetary system is the fact of its scarcity. And the more scarce it is, the better it is, the better it serves. Now, of course, you can get to a point where such a small amount of gold would be so valuable. But even in today's world, that would work too because we now have the ability to digitize everything.
Yeah.
And so it might not have worked 50 years ago, but even that would work today. But the amazing thing is that if you really study the numbers, there is a tremendous amount of gold and silver out there. Not only that's already been mined and sitting around in places, but there's a tremendous amount still in the ground. And when the free market is allowed to operate, and the price of gold or silver is allowed to float to its level that's determined by supply and demand, the price will go up. That will stimulate people to go into the mines, open up some of these old mines, and begin to pull it out of the ground again.
Mm-hmm.
Then the quantity will go up, and the price will go back down again. It'll become stabilized. That's one of the things about a monetary system that's backed by gold or silver, is that it automatically adjusts the supply to meet the demand. You don't need a committee. You don't need a government to pass laws. You don't need to throw people into prison. You just let it happen, and it's a perfect mechanism because it operates in an environment of freedom. I think the best example of that is that if we had lived in ancient Rome and we had a 1-ounce gold coin, we could have purchased a really nice toga, a handcrafted belt, and a pair of sandals. Today, thousands of years later, if we have a 1-ounce gold coin and we convert it into Federal Reserve notes and quickly take it to the clothing store before it loses its value, we can buy a nice suit, a handcrafted belt, and a pair of shoes.
And maybe a top hat.
And maybe a top hat, yeah. But the point is that the real purchasing power of 1 ounce of gold has not changed in thousands of years. And we didn't need a committee. We didn't need a Federal Reserve note. We needed no government agency to pass a law to make that happen. It just happens because of the forces of supply and demand. So when somebody says, is there enough gold out there? Yes, there is. And it just determines, the amount of gold will determine the price. It's not the other way around.
Do you remember the James Bond movie Goldfinger?
Yes.
They tried to break into Fort Knox. Do we still have our gold there?
My opinion is that we do not. And I only go on the basis of the fact that they won't let anybody in to see it. If it was there, I see no reason why they wouldn't allow a tour.
Yeah, where is it? And what did they do with it?
What did they do with it? They're not saying. They spent it. They gave it to somebody. They probably shipped it overseas to foreign governments.
It's gone, isn't it?
It's gone, in my opinion.
I think you're right. There's nothing anymore.
No. If they had gold there, they'd be pulling it out. You know, they stopped making the gold coins recently because they ran out of gold.
Yeah, they picked up again, but you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And they won't continue long because they just don't. They have to go out and buy it. They don't have a stock house.
You give away a free weekly report. You call it the Unfiltered News. How do you get it?
Oh, well, thanks for asking that. Yes, I spend a lot of my life on that. Unfiltered News is available free on the Internet, and all you have to do is, well, the easiest way is go to the Google and just type in Unfiltered News, and you'll get to it. But go to our website. Our commercial website is Reality Zone, and on the main page, you'll see a little icon of a guy reading a newspaper. It says Unfiltered News, and if you click on that, you'll see a page where it describes what it is and a place to sign up. And I appreciate your mentioning that, because that little website of ours, or our newsletter, is amazing. It's all over the world now, and we had a little technical problem a week ago where it didn't get out right away, and my email box was flooded with people complaining, what happened to your newsletter? I got letters from all over the world.
I love it.
I love it.
Oh, you're going to get slammed tonight. We have a very computer-savvy listenership, and they will go to your website and crush it for a couple hours.
Oh, well, that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, well, it's realityzone.com, easy to find. That's the commercial site. Now, our organization site, George, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have a group that's international. And
a cartel?
No, it's a voluntary association, and we have no desire or ability to use coercion against anybody, and it's called Freedom Force International. And if anybody wants to really make a difference in the world, that's where they want to come and spend some time reading our materials. It's freedomforceinternational.org.
Ed, we're going to take phone calls next hour with you. It'll be our last hour with you. You ready for some of those?
You bet.
And, and I also want to thank you, not only for the interview tonight, but for the work you did behind the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. It is very comprehensive. It taught me things I didn't know about the Federal Reserve and the structure. And let me tell you, my favorite picture is in this book?
No, what is that?
The one of John D. Rockefeller, the old John D., with his cane, giving that little kid a dime.
Yes, isn't that, you can look at that for an hour.
I wonder what that dime would be worth today. What do you think?
Well, let's see, a silver dime today?
Back around 1910-ish or so? What would that be?
Well, let's see. It's 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Now, if it's today's dime with no silver in it, it's not worth very much. But 1/10 of an ounce of silver would be worth about $2 or something like that.
The kid would have been rich.
He would have been rich.
We'll be back with phone calls next on Coast to Coast AM.